The purpose of this tutorial was to help import animations from Blender to Unreal Engine and going over any issues that may occur. To start with, I just need to make sure that the model is imported, so the only thing we're focusing on is the actual animation itself. So just to get the model into the Unreal Engine to begin with, File, Export, FBX, and then we've just got all the basic settings. I'm just rushing through it. I do have a different tutorial which goes through all of the settings and explains what each thing does, but for this case, I was just rushing through it. Something different though that wasn't in the animation and the previous versions of Blender I used is you can create a preset at the top. So once you've created all the settings that you're happy with, you can go back up to the top and then create a new preset. That way you don't have to keep going through each option. You can just go to the preset at the top, select the one you created, and it'll repopulate everything properly. Here I was just messing up the settings just to demonstrate that you can go back into your preset and bring it back that way. Then within Unreal Engine itself, just using the basic preset defaults, just making sure the skeleton is left at none. And if you press the preview button, you can see everything that's going to be created when you press import. Leaving that skeleton at none, make sure that we bring in our own. Okay, for this next bit, I wanted to explain the exporting a bit better. So in this case, you've got NLA strips and all actions. Within the action editor, it will tell you what your current active animation is. So that's what's currently being worked on. There's a drop down to show all your current actions, and the NLA editor is what is being referred to as the NLA strips. If you're trying to export the active animation, then you need to make sure both of these options aren't ticked, but also ensure the timeline meets with the animation. So in this example, my animation is 60 frames long, but the timeline is only sitting at 33. So when I export it, it will cut off the animation. It will only be 33 frames long. Another thing to be wary about as well is if you haven't got an active animation on the go and you still have the animation button ticked with these settings, if you export it, it will export an animation, but it would have keyed the one pose all the way through, so it will look like this. So I quickly created a basic idle animation. I've selected the armor chair. In the top right, I've got the action editor, and that's playing at the moment. So that is the current active animation. I've renamed the animation in the action editor to tell me what it is. I put the number of frames at the end just for personal preference. Quickly rushing through all the settings again. I've got the preset already created from earlier. Where it says animation at the bottom, NLA strips and all actions, having them ticked or not ticked in different combinations can have different results. So at the top in the action editor box, I've clicked the drop down box and you can see there's only one action in there. So if I have all actions ticked or not, it makes a difference. So in Unreal Engine, I've just pressed import. I've gone to where I've saved the animation. I've scrolled down to where you can find the skeleton, and I made sure to choose my skeleton, not the default game engine mannequin. So in the preview, you can see the animation that's going to come in. Quickly going back to the skeleton, if you've got none and go to preview, it will not show you anything. You have to have a skeleton in there to show your animations if you've got any. Because there's only one animation, it's going to call it what you call the save file, not what you called the action in Blender. Now we can see it there. Now he's moving away. He's animating. So for multiple animations, within the non-linear animation tab, you can see where my animation is. There's a button to push down action. So if I click that, it removes it from the active slot in the action editor and saves it in the non-linear tab. And then I can go and create another action. So I've just used a keyframe. I've jumped forward in time I've created the animation here now, and I've just called it crouched punch. And then from the action editor, I can see from there I can duplicate the old animation and create a new one from it, which is what I did. So I've got a normal punch, and I went back and made the punch have some sort of stretch. From here, I just created a new track just to show that even though you create a new track in the NLA editor, it doesn't create it as a new action. And I've called it test. Both of these actions are the same. And you can see that by opening up the side. Yeah. So here, under action, clip, action, crouched idle. And if we change it to the top one, it's the same. Got crouched punch, scaled, crouched punch, crouched idle, crouched idle. If you were to go back into your action editor and edit crouched idle, it would affect both of them because they're both looking at the same action. You could also edit it straight from the strip and it will turn red to indicate that it's being changed as well. It's the same. Whereas the other two don't, because there's no other strips that share it. And that will turn red. Also, it can be renamed at the top. So from here, I've just clicked them all. Just renamed it accordingly. Used the preset that we created earlier. Down at the bottom in the animation tab, all actions is unticked and NLA strips is ticked. So everything we've ticked in the NLA tab will be exported. So back to Unreal Engine, go to import. Making sure to select the skeleton. And then in preview, you can see I've got the 4 animations there. This time, because there's multiple of them, they will have individual names. So the name starts as what we saved it as, and then what the name of the strip was called. So we created a duplicate crouched idle and renamed it test. But you can see it hasn't come through as test. It came through as what we called the strip. And in this case, it's come through as 2 different animations. They will be a duplicate of each other because within Blender, they were sharing the same action, but Unreal Engine saved it as separate animations. If we just click and drag it out, we can see that it's working nicely. So for this, I wanted to explain the exporting combinations as quickly as possible. So all around the sides, I've got Blender, and in the middle, I've got Unreal Engine imports from the preview menu. Depending on what is ticked when you're exporting from Blender, these are the results you get from Unreal Engine. So at the top on the left, I've got an active animation while I was exporting. And hopefully you can see from here, that only comes through when NLA strips and all actions is not ticked. When anything else is ticked, the active animation gets ignored. So if NLA strips is ticked, just the NLA stuff comes through. If all actions is ticked, then all actions come through. If NLA strips and all actions is ticked, then they both come through. The NLA strips is dependent on what you tick in Blender before you export. And then on the right hand side, I've got no active animation in the box. But if you export it with these settings, you still get an animation come through. And then same again for the rest of it. Anything's ticked, then the timeline is ignored. I hope this helps someone because this took ages. Watching it all back 100 times, I just realized there was another possible solution. So if you've got NLA strips ticked, but actually haven't got any of the strips ticked, what would happen? I had a look. It doesn't import anything. If the animation you've created has root motion, you need to enable it. So selecting everything, going down to Asset Actions, and Edit Selection in Property Matrix. Along the top, it's got Enable Root Motion, so you can just tick it from there. Or you can go to the side where it says Root Motion, and then tick it there as well. So if you use the bit at the side, it will highlight them all, or you can click them individually. You can go into the animation individually as well. From there, it will give you lots of information on the side. And then if I scroll down, you've got root motion there, enable root motion. And when you tick that, it will give you this line across the floor where you can see where the root is every frame. I feel like that's something new. I swear it used to just be a red line, but it doesn't matter. That's quite cool. I like that. You've also got force root lock, which will keep your animation in place. So he was moving on his own anyway. And then if you click force root lock, it will make him do it on the spot. The option on the side there, Additive Settings, I've used this setting for when the character needs to aim a gun or a weapon, or you can potentially get rid of the weapon altogether and just have him looking. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, but that setting there can be used for your aim offsets. Another option on the side, loop. So it's not ticked by default here. If you've got an animation that you want to repeat, say like a walk cycle, walking, running, shooting potentially, you'll want to tick that. One of the bits there, frames per second, mine's set to 30 because that's what I exported it as. If you're in Blender, you can find it within properties. You can see it there in the format, frame rate 30 frames per second. If you've created an animation which is 30 frames per second and you want to change that, you can do it while importing to Unreal Engine. From the import section, click on animations, this little shortcut. Choose our skeleton, go back to animations again. And here, custom bone animation sample rate. For here, you can just type in how many frames you want. So I had an animation with 30 frames, but I could just type in 25. And now you can see that's come through as 25. And now you can see it's 25, 25. So despite the fact that it keeps dropping your skeleton, it will remember what you've put into the animation sample rate. 0 lets it take the information from your animation. A quick note though, because you're messing around with the sample rate, you could potentially break your animation. If it's a quick moving animation and you do not give it enough frames, it will break it. Yeah, so he's lost the information. And I've just put it to 120 there for shits and giggles. So if you've got a quick movement, like dancing, punching, something snappy, you could potentially break your animation. So the last thing I wanted to quickly discuss, when you import an asset, it will show you where it's come from in the source. So it knows where on your computer it's come from. So if you were to right click and press reimport, it will look to that file and bring in any changes that you've created. If you rename, delete, or move that file and press reimport, it will give you an error. It will ask you where to find it. You can change the name of the asset. It doesn't affect the source at all. Unreal Engine creates a copy of your asset and keeps it in the project files anyway. So if you were to delete the source file later on, it doesn't matter because you've still got that copy. The reason I did it so that I imported the model first and then the animation separately is so that you can keep the two separate. And if you make any changes or create any new animations, you don't have to export everything every single time. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped. I'll try and create another video for all the potential problems and issues that may come up and their fixes. If you can think of any ideas of what I should do next, put them in the comments. I'll be happy to read it. Thanks for watching.